2022, the NBA witnessed an epic confrontation that wasn't just about basketball. It was about legacy, overcoming, and rebirth. On one side, the Golden State Warriors, a dynasty that many believed to be dead, led by Stephen Curry, Klay, Thompson, and Draymond Green, fighting to prove that they were still the kings of the league. On the other side, the Boston Celtics, the winningest franchise in history, with a young and hungry generation, led by Jayson, Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, ready to restore the glory of a city in love with basketball. This is the story of two forces colliding in one of the most intense finals of recent times, where the past met the future and a dynasty shone once again. The Celtics went through a long journey to become the team that reached the NBA Finals in 2022. It all started with the core formed by Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and Marcus Smart. Each of them grew little by little, carrying the expectations of returning glory to Boston. Over the years, the Celtics have come close on several occasions. Conference finals here, disappointments there, but never managed to take that final step towards the top. Despite difficulties, they remain steadfast, maturing together, while the fans look forward to something great. 2021 to 22 was a reflection of this process. At first, it looked like things were go off the rails. The team simply couldn't find itself on the court, accumulating frustrating defeats and displays that left fans with their hair on end. For many, the team was doomed to another year of frustration. But in the midst of all this, new coach Ime Udoka refused to accept failure. In January, everything changed. Udoka adjusted the defensive system, getting the best out of each player. That's when the Celtics were transformed from an unstable team, a relentless defensive machine, with Marcus Smart, the heart of the team, leading the way as Defensive Player of the Year. Boston finished the regular season with the best defense in the league, and suddenly nobody else wanted to face them. Playoffs, the story got even more intense. They faced enormous and showed that they weren't willing to back down. It was a hard road to the finals, but that's when things get really interesting. Were the big test for the Celtics. They began by facing the Brooklyn Nets, a team full of stars like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Despite the weight of the names on the other side, Boston played with an absurd intensity, showing that their defense was impenetrable and that Jayson Tatum was ready to take center stage. They swept the Nets in 4 games, statement that they were ready for something bigger. In the conference semifinal, the challenge was even heavier. The defending champion Milwaukee Bucks, led by Giannis Antetokounmpo. It was a battle of giants. Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart had to raise their games to make up for what seemed impossible holding off Giannis. The Celtics showed resilience, with Tatum having a monstrous performance in Game 6 to force Game 7, where they dominated and advanced to the conference finals. Now, against the Miami Heat, one of the most physical and well-trained teams in the league, was even greater. The series was marked by intensity, adjustments, and moments of pure tension. Smart and Al Horford, the veteran who was the voice of experience in the squad, were key at critical moments, while Tatum and Brown took on the offensive responsibility. In Game 7, in Miami, the Celtics withstood the pressure of playing away from home and secured their place in the finals. The Golden State Warriors, after Kevin Durant's departure in 2019, had come off the back of frustrating 2 years in a row without making the playoffs. Everyone was already the Warriors dynasty as defeated and extinct, so Stephen Curry and his team embraced the challenge and set about proving that the dynasty was more alive than ever. The Warriors' start to the season has been surreal and simply beyond everyone's expectations. In the first 22 games, Golden State managed 19 wins and only 3 losses, crushing all opponents, and with an elite defense, which at that time was the best defensive rating in the league by much. Stephen Curry was playing at an MVP level, and Jordan Poole had simply become the splash cousin, being called Baby Stephen Curry or the new Stephen Curry. Jordan Poole took responsibility for scoring in many games and showed his absurd evolution, going from a G League background player to one of the best role players in the entire NBA. Not to mention that Draymond Green was playing at a DPOY level, and Andrew Wiggins was an all-star starter that season, with an absurd efficiency in 3-pointers and a lion defensively, always managing to mark the best players on opposing teams and doing well against all of them. The surprising Warriors led the Western Conference for a long time, until they were overtaken by the Phoenix Suns and the Memphis Grizzlies, who were also quite consistent during the season, with Phoenix coming off a runner-up finish and Memphis having an extremely talented young core. And on January 9th, after 941 days away due to injury, Klay Thompson finally returned from injury.
He's back! Number 11, Klay Thompson!
Switch. He went to reach, and Klay down the lane!
Even with Poole on the rise, Golden State decided to believe in the franchise's legendary number 11 and put him in the starting lineup, moving Jordan Poole to the bench, being an important sixth man for the team. Klay averaged 20.4 PPG during the season, with a 38.5% success rate on three-pointers in 32 games. In the final stretch of the season, Stephen Curry suffered an ankle injury against the Boston Celtics. After tests, his return to the playoffs was guaranteed, but no one knew what the Warriors' number 30 would be like. So the team finished in third place and will face the Denver Nuggets with back-to-back MVP Nikola Jokic right away. And what happened in this series against the Nuggets that was impressive, but it paid off, was that Jordan Poole started the games, but not in place of Klay Thompson, but rather Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry started every game in the series against the Denver Nuggets, coming off the bench, and Poole did the job, being the team's top scorer in the first two games, playing amazingly in his playoff debut. Although the series was won in 5 games, it wasn't as easy as it seems. Jokic had sensational games and was practically unmarkable, but Draymond Green did a great job nerfing the current MVP with a defensive game winner in Game 3.
Jokic with 37 into Green. Green stole the ball!
The Warriors team was incredible in this series, and one of the most legendary moments of all the playoffs that remains in the NBA to this day was the creation of Stephen Curry's famous celebration, the night-night, after making the decisive basket in Game 3 and Game 5 of the series. And so the Warriors eliminated the Nuggets and advanced to face the Memphis Grizzlies in the second round, with a taste of revenge after having been eliminated by the Bears in the play-in the previous year. The Warriors did not have home court against the Grizzlies, so the first 2 games were in Memphis. The first 2 games were extremely physical, but in Game 1 the Warriors' standout was Jordan Poole, coming off the bench with 31 points, being decisive in the game. The end of the game was dramatic, with Klay Thompson hitting the decisive three-pointer to turn the game around. But then Klay missed 2 free throws in a row and gave Memphis the chance to turn the game around. But Morant missed, and Stephen Curry approached and gave that wonderful trash talk.
Come on! I know!
Game 6 returned with the legendary Game 6 Klay. Klay Thompson was impeccable in the game and led the team in scoring, along with Stephen Curry, who killed the last ball of the game and made his famous night-night, winning the series against Memphis, awaiting the winner of the Suns and Mavs, already in the Western Conference Finals. Game 1 was a run over by the Warriors, imposing themselves offensively and defensively throughout the game, showing their strength to intimidate the Mavs from the beginning of the series. In Game 2, the Warriors had their greatest show of resilience in the entire playoffs. The Warriors ended up losing the game by more than 20 points, with Luka Doncic destroying the entire game. But Luka's great game wasn't enough to win, because from the third quarter onwards, the Warriors were simply perfect on offense and defense, and Klay and Steph, along with the entire team, got the job done. In Game 3, the Warriors were extremely dominant the entire game, with Luka trying to provoke Stephen Curry, but he provoked the wrong guy, because in the same game, Steph returned the provocation, and Luka also suffered the dunk of the year from Andrew Wiggins.
Goes by drops the sledgehammer!
The Warriors were 3-0 up in the series, and no team in NBA history had ever turned that score around. Finally, after all the media's distrust, returned to the NBA Finals. With a lackluster performance by Steph, Andrew Wiggins and Klay Thompson were simply lethal in the game and didn't give Dallas a chance at any point in the game, thus winning the Western Conference and reaching the NBA Finals, their 6th final in 8 years. Yes, the Warriors were in the NBA Finals, and they would face the strong Boston Celtics team in the finals. As always, the Warriors team was underestimated, as it had been since the beginning of the season, and ESPN released a statistic of probability of winning the finals, giving an 88% chance to the Boston Celtics and only a 12% chance to the Golden State Warriors. And with these odds, the NBA Finals began. In Game 1, the the Golden State Warriors started on fire, especially Stephen Curry, who certainly had that narrative of never having won a Finals MVP in his career, and started the game in legendary fashion with 6 three-pointers in the first quarter. The California team controlled the game until the end of the third quarter when the blackout began. In the last quarter, Boston simply hit everything they tried from 3 points, and Derek White and Jaylen led the Celtic team's comeback against the Warriors, thus winning the first game and stealing control of the court from Golden State. After the end of Game 1, practically everyone took the Celtics' victory in that series for granted, and I guarantee you, Stephen Curry was aware of everything that was said about him and his team on the internet and on television, and he activated legendary mode in finals. Game 2 started well balanced, but you could see in Steph's face that he wasn't going to let the team lose under any circumstances, and with an overwhelming third quarter from the Warriors, the team won the game, without forgetting that incredible three-pointer from Jordan Poole from midcourt.
Fakes and fires from half court on the way. He got it! He hit it from half court!
The Warriors tied the series and would have the tough task of winning at least one game away from home to regain control of the court, but everyone knew the strength of the Boston Celtics playing at TD Garden. Game 3 begins with a crushing start to the game from the Boston Celtics. Draymond Green had been playing good defensive roles in the series, but offensively he was unable to deliver almost anything. You could even see moments of nervousness in the Warriors' number 23. Stephen Curry did everything in the third quarter for the team to get back into the game and even turn the score around, but in the last quarter the Celts came back with everything and closed the game, taking a 2-1 lead in the series and making things very complicated for Golden State. Warriors in the series. After the game, Boston fans started annoying Steph on social media and even created banners in several restaurants that said, "Aisha Curry doesn't know how to cook." For those who don't know, Aisha is Steph's wife, and she works often with kitchen and gastronomy things. Man, these Boston fans simply instigated the best moment in this video, Stephen Curry's legendary performance in Game 4 of the NBA Finals. At the beginning of the game, Steph started very well, and after a three-pointer in the first quarter, Curry went to the bench, and the Celtics fans shouted in their faces in the first quarter. Stephen Curry was no joke in that game, and every time the Celtics opened a lead, Stephen Curry would go there and reduce the lead. In the last quarter, Golden State balanced the game with an absurd 3-ball from Klay Thompson, and after that, Stephen Curry decided the game by dancing in front of Marcus Smart and Robert Williams, and then with a devastating 3-ball in the face of Derek White.
Step back, three-pointer, bang! Steph Curry drills the three. That's a 6-point Warriors lead. Timeout, Boston.
Stephen Curry's performance in Game 4 was simply legendary and was certainly one of the greatest performances by a player in a finals game in NBA history, as it was basically a match point and it was at the opponent's home ground. Result, the Warriors regained control of the court and now return to the Chase Center. In Game 5, Stephen Curry broke a negative mark. He did not make any three-pointers in the game and broke a long streak of consecutive games by making at least one three-pointer. But Steph didn't even need to be brilliant in this game because Wiggins destroyed the game and once again demonstrated an absurd and super important performance for the Warriors to win the game. We can't forget Jordan Poole's great game when the Celtics got closer to the score in the third quarter. Jordan Poole did it once again in the finals.
He's got 3 seconds to get a shot off. Wiggins to Poole. Poole gets it off in time. Oh, he banks it in!
The Golden State Warriors played a final quarter and won the game, putting the score 3-2 and needing just one more victory to win the finals. So the team traveled to Boston knowing what they needed to do, win at any cost. Game 6 started with an absurd momentum from the Boston Celtics, imposing their pace and playing hard to show that they would not lose that series playing at TD Garden. But then the Golden State Warriors showed who is in charge of the game and gave the Boston Celtics a 21-0 run and put all the Celtic players in shock.
Curry kicks it out, Green wide open, and finally gets Curry to Payton. Three-pointer right side is good. To Wiggins. Poole steps back, banks it in. Tim's bank shot, no good. Draymond Green tips it out to Poole, and Poole nails the three. Again, Golden State looking to push at every opportunity. Thread the needle, and Wiggins back. Three-pointer missed it. Draymond Green another rebound, kicks it back out. Poole's going to try again, and nails him. Turnover. Poole pushes, finds Wiggins. Wiggins throws it down.
and turned the TD Garden into a true library. Stephen Curry was once again the highlight of the game, and the most legendary moment of the series was when Steph asked the Celtics fans for the championship ring. Still in the third quarter, the Celtics still tried to get back into the game, but Curry was super clutch in the last quarter, not counting the three-pointer to seal the game, along with his legendary celebration, the night-night.
Fakes, fires, three-pointer, bang! Steph Curry from downtown.
And yes, what seemed impossible, what no one believed would happen, with only a 12% chance of happening, happened. The Golden State Warriors became NBA champions at TD Garden after beating the Boston Celtics 4-2. This title was undoubtedly the most important title in the history of the Golden State Warriors due to all the narratives. For everyone, the dynasty was already over. And we cannot forget that this title broke the end of the narrative that Stephen Curry could not carry a team to the title. He not only carried it, but also had legendary performances in the 2022 playoffs, and finally achieved his dream, Finals MVP.